we have a little bit more time to work with the applicant on the overall layout and design of this property. It's really important that we get this right. It's important that that the adequate buffers are provided, and that we find a solution that works for most of the people here.
How do you feel about that, committee? Dan?
I'd like to speak a little bit before
Oh, okay, sure.
the motion's made. A couple more questions. I'm assuming the two duplexes that are beside that commercial unit are single-story? Are they single-story duplexes?
Through the chair, they're semi-detached and I don't know what the height is.
But,
They haven't been built yet.
but the subdivision allows 2 stories, does it not?
Oh, certainly.
I'll move deferral.
Eric, did you want to say something first?
Yeah, just a quick comment. I'm not so concerned about the privacy. Given the location of the commercial building, it's your 7.5 meters of your driveway aisle, plus your 5.5 meters of your parking spot to the building. So you're well over 12 meters, which is your standard rear yard anyways for a residential property. So I'm not as concerned with that, but I'll go along with the deferral to get more information about the parking lot layout.
I have a motion by Dan, second by Eric, that the committee hereby defers this decision on this application to allow the planning department time to acquire more accurate information. It's not debatable, so those in favor? Motion's carried. Planning staff will discuss it with the applicant and they'll get it back to a future meeting.
And the building inspector.
I'm sorry? Absolutely. But I think it'd be a good idea to fill your name on the clipboard on the way out so we know who to talk to. Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, I'm assuming that the focus of discussion will be centered around parking spaces? Is that?
I think the general layout totally, like buffer zones, parking spaces, driveway.
Through the chair, yeah, we just want to confirm that with the parking lot issue, the setback, the number of parking spaces, it all should just be confirmed so that we're not back here asking for relief.
Well, that's why I asked earlier, if after all these things are done, we're confident we can get 18 spaces there. Now,
Right.
okay, we'll find out. Thank you.
Okay, that motion's deferred. If anybody wants to be notified, how would that go about doing that?
Through the chair, if you already got a letter in the mail for this public meeting, no, then you can sign up on the clipboard to receive notice.
Okay.
And a new yellow sign will be posted as well.
Just on the property? Yes. Okay, we're going to take a little break in case people want to leave. You can. And I got a phone call I got to make.
Thank you, everyone. We will now continue with the meeting. The chair has had to leave the meeting, and I'll try to finish up. Our next application is under the name of Kevin Hawley, number 050. It's an application to construct an addition to a dwelling requiring relief from Section 3.242 of the zoning bylaw to permit the expansion of a legal non-conforming use having a minimum front setback of 2.06 meters, a minimum of interior side setback of 0.91 meters, a minimum interior side yard setback of 1.64 meters, and having a minimum rear yard setback from the top of the slope or the retaining wall of 17.22 feet. Is there anyone here on behalf of this application?
Kevin Hawley.
Okay, thank you, sir. And I would ask the planner to present the application, please. Pardon me? Or anyone else who wishes to comment or speak on this particular application? No, proceed. Thank you.
Thank you. An application's been received to construct, in addition to a dwelling requiring relief from Section 3.242 of the zoning bylaw, to permit the expansion of a legal non-conforming use having a minimum front yard setback of 2.06 meters, a minimum interior side yard setback of 0.91 meters, a minimum interior side yard setback of 1.64 meters, and having a minimum rear yard from the top of the slope of 5.25 meters. Subject lands are 437 square meters in size and front onto the south side of Maple Boulevard in the urban area of Port Dover. They contain a single detached dwelling and are located adjacent to Lake Erie. The lands to the north, east, and west are residential in nature. At the time of writing this report, there had not been any public input received. However, since the report was written, we have received a letter from an adjacent landowner with some concerns regarding this application, and I can describe those concerns at the end. In relation to the Planning Act, Section 45 of the Act speaks to the powers and considerations of the Committee of Adjustment. Specifically, Section 45(2) permits the C of A to consider applications for the enlargement or extension of a building or structure that's considered legal non-conforming. Subject lands were formerly zoned urban residential type 1 zone in the City of Nanticoke zoning bylaw. With the approval of the Norfolk County Comprehensive Zoning Bylaw, subject lands were rezoned to hazard lands, making the existing single detached dwelling legal non-conforming. Subject application will be reviewed in conjunction with Section 45(2) of the Act. The existing single detached dwelling was legally existing on the date of the adoption of the official plan, and therefore the existing residential use is permitted. The existing single detached dwelling is considered by planning staff to be legal non-conforming development, and therefore minor additions such as those posed are permitted in the Norfolk County official plan. Section 3.24 speaks to non-conforming uses. 3.241 says that nothing in this bylaw shall apply to prevent the use of any land, building, or structure for any purpose prohibited by the bylaw if such land, building, or structure was lawfully established and used for such purpose on the date of the passing of the bylaw, and provided that it continues to be used for that purpose. Section 3.25 speaks to non-complying uses, and it goes on to say that nothing in the bylaw shall prevent non-complying building or structure from being enlarged, extended, reconstructed, repaired, renovated, or used, provided that the enlargement, extension, reconstruction, repair, or renovation does not further reduce the compliance of the building or structure with any provision of the bylaw. The single detached dwelling will continue to be used for residential purposes. The applicant wishes to slightly modify the dwelling to permit a marginally larger indoor space. Through this minor variance application, the applicant is requesting that the porch be enclosed, that the deck and sunroom be removed and replaced. Planning staff are of the professional opinion that the proposed alterations are minor in nature and consistent with the massing and scale of the neighboring properties. There is an existing utility shed that's to be removed in order to accommodate future parking on site. In relation to the comments that were received for this application, there was some concern in regards to the addition at the rear of the dwelling. Planning staff note that while there is a slight modification to the envelope of the dwelling, the deck is going to be removed, so it's still going to remain in a sort of a net zero gain in terms of the use on that site, and that the setback from the existing top of slope based on the distance of the deck to that slope should not change. As well, Long Point Region Conservation staff have reviewed this application and are favorable of the application. Planning staff look for that guidance from Long Point Region in relation to applications within the hazard land zone. It's one of their specialties. In particular, they would usually comment if there would be concerns regarding stable slopes within the hazard lands, and we did not hear any of those comments from the Conservation Authority. It's the professional opinion of community planning staff that the requested relief can be considered minor in nature, appropriate development, and maintains the purpose and intent of the use for which it was used on the day of the former zoning bylaw of the subject lands was passed. As such, planning staff support this application and recommend that it be approved subject to the attached condition.
Thank you. Any questions of the planner? Mr. Hawley?
Nothing to add, Mr. Chair, unless there's questions.
Thank you. Looking for a motion? Moved by Marcel. Seconded by Larry. Moved by Marcel, seconded by Larry, that application 050 be approved. An application to construct in addition to a dwelling requiring relief from section 3.24.2 of the zoning bylaw permitting the expansion of a legal non-conforming use. Any further questions or comments? All in favor? That motion is approved. Our next application, application 062. The applicants are Janet Johnson and Paul Douglas Johnson. The proposal is an application to construct in addition to a vacation home requiring relief of 10.29% from the maximum permitted lot coverage of 15% to a lot coverage of 25.29%.
I'm Paul Johnston, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Anyone else in the audience wishes to speak to this particular application? Seeing no one, I'll ask the planner to present the application, please.
An application has been received to construct an addition to a vacation home requiring relief of 10.29% from the maximum permitted lot coverage of 15% to permit a lot coverage of 25.29%. The subject lands are 0.19 acres in size and front onto the east side of Cedar Drive in the resort area of Turkey Point. The lands contain a vacation home and back onto a channel to the east. Uses to the north, south, and west are resort residential in nature. The applicant is requesting relief from the maximum permitted lot coverage in order to permit a single-story addition to their cottage, as well as the construction of a deck. Section 1.1.4.2 of the PPS states, in rural areas, rural settlement areas shall be the focus of growth and development, and their vitality and regeneration shall be promoted. The subject lands are designated resort residential in the official plan. Section 4.6.1A states vacation dwellings shall be permitted, subject to the policies of Section 462B. 462B states, notwithstanding the policies of the plan, infilling on existing lots of record for the purposes of developing a vacation home for seasonal use, replacement of existing buildings or structures, repairs and minor additions to existing buildings and structures, and accessory uses may be permitted. Proposals for development in this regard must recognize the hazards that exist and be constructed in such a manner that the risk to the occupants of the structure is reduced. The Conservation Authority shall be consulted to determine the appropriate methods to minimize risk. The intention of the official plan is to allow for minor additions to existing cottages in the resort residential designation, which is what the applicant is proposing. The applicant is requesting relief from the maximum permitted lot coverage. The intention of this zone provision is to ensure adequate amenity space exists on the subject lands. This is especially important in resort areas as there is a greater emphasis on outdoor activities such as barbecuing, campfires, and general socializing. In this case, most of the area of the proposed addition is currently used as a carport. This minimizes the impact of the addition as it is not used as outdoor amenity space currently, so the change will be minor. The deck will be used to enhance the amenity space while leaving much of the rear yard open. The subject application maintains the intent of the zoning bylaw. Staff have completed a site inspection and are of the opinion that the requested relief is minor and appropriate in this instance. The proposed addition and deck are minor in that they will not result in major changes to the property overall. The character will match the surrounding neighborhood as it is a single-story addition, and many cottages in Turkey Point have a large deck in the rear yard. The open space will not be significantly affected. It is the professional opinion of community planning staff that the requested relief can be considered minor in nature, appropriate development, and generally meets the intent of the Norfolk County Official Plan and Norfolk County Zoning Bylaw. As such, planning staff support this application and recommend that it be approved.
Any questions of the planner?
I move the application.
Mr. Johnson, any comments?
No comments, Mr. Chair. Subject to
Thank
questions.
you. It has been moved by Larry, seconded by Eric. I have a motion by Larry, seconded by Eric, to approve application 062, an application to construct an addition to a vacation home requiring relief of 10.29% from the maximum permitted lot coverage of 15% to permit a lot coverage of 25.29. The reason being, in accordance with Section 45(1) of the Planning Act, the proposed development and requested relief is considered appropriate development, minor in nature, and maintains the general intent of the official plan and zoning bylaw, and that no public input was received and therefore has not been considered as part of the application. All in favor? That application is approved. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Our next application is application 043. The applicant being Mr. Darrell Hagan. And the proposal is an application to construct a partial second-story addition on a vacation home requiring relief, and the reliefs are many. Do you want me to read them, or do we have them before us? Pardon me? You'll read them? Okay. There are many reliefs to be considered, and the planner will read them in the report. Okay, anyone here on this application? I saw Darrell. Yep. Anyone else wishing to speak on this application? Someone else? Okay, sorry. We had you down as the applicant as opposed to the agent.
I'm the applicant, I guess, but
Okay.
not the owner.
Okay.
Thanks.
All right, thank you. And with that, I will turn it over to the planner to present the application.
An application has been received to construct a partial second-story addition on a vacation home requiring relief of 270.8 square meters from the minimum required lot area of 700 square meters to permit an area of 429.2 square meters, 2.2 meters from the minimum required lot frontage of 15 meters to permit a frontage of 12.8 meters, 0.78 meters from the minimum required rear yard of 9 meters to permit a rear yard of 8.22 meters, 2.34 meters from the minimum required front yard of 6 meters to permit a front yard of 3.66 meters, 0.5 meters from the maximum permitted height of 7.5 meters to permit a height of 8 meters, and 6.75% from the maximum permitted lot coverage of 15% to permit a lot coverage of 21.75%. The lands are 445 square meters in size and front onto the west side of Ordnance Ave in the resort area of Turkey Point. The lands contain a vacation home and are located across the road from Lake Erie. Lands to the north, south, and west are resort residential in nature. No public input has been received for this application. And the applicant is proposing to add a partial second story to the existing cottage on the property. The subject lands are designated resort residential in the official plan. Notwithstanding the policies of the plan, Section 4.6.2b states, infilling on existing lots of record for the purposes of developing a vacation home for seasonal use, replacement of existing buildings or structures, repairs and minor additions to existing buildings and structures, and accessory uses may be permitted. The subject lands are within the Lakeshore Special Policy Area. Section 5.3 outlines the design guidelines for cottages in Turkey Point and Long Point. This section includes the following guideline for height. Building height should be measured from the finished grade of the ground at the front of the building. For any roof type, the maximum height should not exceed 7.5 meters, but may be increased up to 9 meters in circumstances where the development would not be out of character with surrounding development. The intention of the official plan is to allow for minor additions to existing cottages in Turkey Point, which is what the applicant is proposing. The Lakeshore Special Policy Area requires that increases in height be considered in the context of surrounding development character. Surrounding cottages vary in height between 1 and 2 stories. Staff are of the opinion that the requested relief will be in line with the character of the neighborhood. The second floor will be a partial story, which assists with negating the visual impacts of the increased height. A permit is required from Long Point Region Conservation Authority. The subject application maintains the intent of the official plan. The applicant is requesting relief from the minimum required lot area, minimum required lot frontage, minimum required rear yard, required front yard, and maximum permitted height and lot coverage. The intention of these provisions is as follows. Lot area, lot coverage, and rear yard. To ensure adequate amenity space exists on the subject lands. Front yard, to ensure a consistent streetscape appearance. Frontage, to allow for sufficient access to the subject lands as well as ensuring a consistent appearance. And height, to maintain the resort area character of smaller cottages and limit conversions to permanent year-round dwellings. All of the relief being requested consists of existing deficiencies, save and except for the height. The lot is an existing undersized lot, and staff are of the opinion that an adequate amount of amenity space exists on the property. Most of the cottages on this section of Ordnance Avenue have a similar deficient front yard, which appears larger than it actually is due to the wide road allowance in front of the properties. The streetscape appearance will not be negatively impacted by this application. With regard to the height, the requested relief is 0.5 meters, which is not a significant amount, and there are similar cottage heights surrounding the subject lands. The second floor will be a partial story, which is a mitigating factor when considering the visual impact of the increased height. The cottage is not proposed to be converted for year-round use. The application maintains the intent of the zoning bylaw. Staff have completed a site inspection and are of the opinion that the requested relief is minor and appropriate in this instance. The end result of the combined variances is not anticipated to result in negative impacts to surrounding property owners or result in a vacation home that is out of character with the general area. It is the professional opinion of community planning staff that the requested relief can be considered minor in nature, appropriate development, and generally meets the intent of the Norfolk County Official Plan and Zoning Bylaw. As such, planning staff support this application and recommend that it be approved.
Thank you. Any questions of the planner from committee members?
I'll move
Eric?
approval.
Sorry?
I'll move approval.
Thank you. you have any further comments, Mr. Hagan?
No, thank you very much to the planners.
Okay, thank you. I have a motion on 043 by Eric, seconded by Rudy, that in the case of an application of minor variance made under Section 45, the proposal as amended be approved, and the variances are described or have been described in detail in the report, and I'm not going to repeat those variances. All in favor? The motion is approved. And I, again, failed to mention, I guess I should, that in accordance with Section 45 of the Planning Act, the proposed development and requested relief is considered appropriate development, minor in nature, and maintains the general intent of the official plan and zoning bylaw, and that no public input was received and therefore has not been considered. Thank you.
Thank you, committee, for your time, and the planners. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next application is 060 under the name of Crimson Creek Farms. It's an application received to sever a parcel having a frontage of 49.7 meters, an irregular width of 49.7 meters in depth, of 84.47 meters, and having an area of 3,767.3 square meters, 0.93 of an acre, as the severance of a dwelling made surplus through farm amalgamation. The subject application is being reviewed concurrently with a zoning bylaw amendment to remove a single detached dwelling as permitted use on the retained lands. Is there anyone here in relation to this application? Yes, sir. Terry Vermeersch. Terry Vermeersch. Anyone else wishing to comment or speak on this application? No? With that, I will turn the application over to our planner.
Thank you. The subject lands are 3,763.3 square meters in size and front onto the south side of Norfolk County Road 21. The lands contain a single detached dwelling and 2 small accessory structures. The lands are part of a larger 20-hectare farm, which is in agricultural production and contains a large barn. The lands to the south are forested with a creek, and to the north, east, and west are actively farmed. There was no public input received for this application, and therefore was not considered as part of the recommendation. Subject application proposes to sever a residence surplus to farming operation as a result of farm consolidation. No active farmland is being taken out of production, and the lands can accommodate the existing sewage and water services. The retained lands will be rezoned such that a new residential dwelling is prohibited. The proposed surplus farm dwelling severance application is consistent with the policies of the PPS. Subject lands are designated agricultural in the official plan. The retained lands will be automatically rezoned such that a single detached dwelling is removed as a permitted use. Subject application will not adversely affect the operation or viability of the farm operation on the retained lot or adjacent lands, as it will function as an entirely separate lot. There is an existing barn that will remain with the surrounding farm operation. The barn is set back enough so that it will not interfere with the residential use proposed on the new severed lot. The application is in conformity with Section 4.23C and Section 4.23B of the official plan, and based on that policy review, planning staff are of the opinion that the proposed application is in conformity with the official plan. Subject lands are zoned agricultural in the Norfolk County zoning bylaw. The proposed surplus farm dwelling severance application complies with the provisions of the agricultural zone. The retained lands will be zoned such that a single detached dwelling is removed as a permitted use. Planning staff note that there is a hydro line connecting the existing single detached dwelling and the barn on the retained lands. As a condition of approval, this hydro line will be required to be removed. In conclusion, it's professional opinion of planning staff that the subject application is consistent with the PPS, conforms with our official plan, and complies with the zoning bylaw. Planning staff recommend approval of this application subject to the attached conditions.
Any questions of the planner? Dan?
Yes, I'm on the conditions page. 1B says road widening. I'm assuming that's only for the lot itself and not the rest of the farm?
That's correct.
Okay.
So how many feet of road widening is needed? Is that an old road that's never been improved?
It would be for the frontage, so 49.7 meters.
Just for the lot. Thank you. Could I have another question, Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Number 3, upgrading the driveway from dirt to gravel. Is that is that something new the county is requiring now?
Through the chair, I believe the driveway that's being referred to is for the retained lands. An entrance permit and driveway upgrade from dirt to gravel. This is
I just didn't know that the county has the right to tell us what kind of driveway we have.
yeah, it's.
I don't remember that kind of a condition previously.
Through the
before.
chair, it's likely a condition that's based on obtaining that entrance. So I don't know the answer 100%, but it would make sense that it's probably just for the entrance and not so much for the entire driveway.
Okay,
Okay.
Yeah.
I can buy that.
And
Because next
obviously,
time it's going to be paved.
obviously, the applicant hasn't had an issue with that, so, yeah. Okay, any further questions? Moved by Dan, seconded by Rudy. That application 060, which is an application to sever a parcel having a frontage of 49.7 meters, an irregular width of 49.7 meters, a depth of 84.474 meters, and having an area of 3,767.3 square meters as the severance of a dwelling made surplus through farm amalgamation. The subject application is being reviewed concurrently with the zoning bylaw amendment to remove a single detached dwelling as permitted use on the retained lands. The reason being that the subject application is consistent with the provincial policy statement 214, conforms to the Norfolk County official plan with regards to surplus farm dwelling severances, and that no public input was received and therefore has not been considered as part of the application. All in favor? That motion is carried. Marcel? Our final application this evening is application 063. The applicant, Christopher Scott Brennan and Karen Amy Brennan. Agent Beaver Homes and Cottages. The proposal is an application to permit an addition to a boathouse previously constructed without the benefit of a building permit, requiring a relief of 12 square meters from the minimum required lot area of 700 meters to a lot area of 688 square meters, 0.6 meters from the maximum permitted height of a boathouse of 5 meters to permit a height of 5.6 meters, 42.68 square meters from the maximum permitted usable floor area of a boathouse of 56 meters to permit a floor area of 92 square meters. Includes the existing shed. And 2.3 meters, or 2.3% from the maximum permitted lot coverage for accessory buildings of 10% to permit a lot coverage of 12.3%. Those, who do we have representing?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. It's John Oliver.
John Oliver, thank you. Anyone else wishing to comment or speak to this application? Noting no one, I will ask the planner to present the application, please.
An application has been received to permit an addition to a boathouse previously constructed without the benefit of a building permit, and the relief has been outlined by the chair. The subject lands are 688 square meters in size and front onto the east side of Poplar Road in the resort area of Long Point. The lands contain a vacation home and a boathouse. The rear of the property abuts a channel to the east. Surrounding land uses are resort residential in nature. No public input has been received for this application. The subject lands are designated resort residential in the official plan. The boathouse is accessory to the existing vacation home on the subject lands. Accessory uses are permitted through the above policies. A permit is required from Long Point Region Conservation Authority. The subject application maintains the intent of the official plan. The applicant is requesting relief from minimum lot area, maximum height of a boathouse, maximum usable floor area of a boathouse, and maximum lot coverage for accessory buildings. The intention of these provisions is as follows. Minimum lot area to ensure adequate space is available for a reasonably sized vacation home with room for parking and amenity area. This is an existing deficiency and is a common occurrence in much of Long Point. The lot size is the same as surrounding properties. Maximum height and usable floor area of a boathouse. A boathouse is intended to be an accessory use to a waterfront property. Limiting the size and scale ensures that it remains accessory and does not appear out of scale with cottage and surrounding properties. The boathouse was constructed in such a way that it allows the entire boat well to be covered, in addition to some extra space for storage and for maneuvering around the well. It is clearly secondary to the cottage and was not built to an excessive size. Maximum lot coverage for accessory buildings. In the RR zone, accessory buildings are meant to be secondary uses in association with vacation homes. In this case, the boathouse is mainly located over the existing boat well, which results in minimum amounts of amenity space being removed from the subject lands. Staff have completed a site inspection and are of the opinion that the proposed relief is minor and appropriate in this instance. The boathouse is of a similar scale to those on surrounding properties, if not smaller. It is of a character and size that fits within the neighborhood and within the subject lands. It does not appear out of place and does not negatively impact the usability of the subject property. It's the professional opinion of community planning staff that the requested relief can be considered minor in nature, appropriate development, and generally meets the intent of the Norfolk County Official Plan and Zoning Bylaw. Planning staff support this application and recommend that it be approved.
Thank you. Any questions of the planner? Mr. Oliver?
Only one comment. One section requires a permit from the Long Point Region Conservation Authority. That has been received.
Pardon me?
It has been received.
It has been received. Thank
Yes.
you. We have a motion by Marcel, approved. Seconded by Larry. That application 063 be approved, which is a proposal to permit an addition to a boathouse previously constructed without the benefit of a building permit, requiring relief as described in the report. The reason being that in accordance with Section 45(1) of the Planning Act, the proposed development and requested relief is considered appropriate development, minor in nature, and maintains the general intent of the official plan and zoning bylaw, and that no public input was received and therefore has not been considered as part of this application. All in favor? That motion is approved. Thank you. Is there any further business to come before this committee? Anyone? Pardon me?
Just-
One item, Mr. Chair, or Matt? I'm
Yes.
sorry.
Just for information for the committee, I am going to be taking a little break from Committee of Adjustment and working on a different project for the county, so I will not be here for the next couple months. Kayla Rell, Senior Planner, will be taking my spot.
Good luck with that project.
Thank you.
Any other further business? Seeing none, I have a motion for adjournment.